Reed Hastings seems as tough as his DVDs.
Practically indestructible.
He has transformed the world of movies, TV, and cable twice.
We rent DVDs, it's a flat price, it's really easy.
He's one of the people that killed the video store.
Oh, we would have liked nothing better than to bury Netflix.
He defied his critics and bet his company on movies by mail when DVDs were a novelty.
Most investors were just convinced Netflix was just another .com. It was a niche-y little idea. People didn't want a subscription and it would never take off.
It took off and flew high for 12 years, its value climbing to $12 billion before a spectacular stumble stalled its growth.
Netflix subscribers are fleeing en masse. More than 800,000 customers canceled their service last quarter.
I've heard some people say that it feels like aliens have taken over his body.
Hastings is determined to restore his company's reputation and his own.
He comes across as sort of typical Silicon Valley executive, very low-key, but you know he's one of those guys who has to win.
Ten, 12 years ago when we started Netflix, the internet was still AOL dial-up. But we realized, wow, networks are just going to grow. And you know what's going to happen? All video is going to become click and watch internet video. Everything.
Reed Hastings has made a career out of anticipating the future. First in a software tool, then with the simple DVD and a 32-cent stamp.
You won't find anybody who has more drive than Reed Hastings. He's always thinking about the strategic shifts that need to be made.
He is an incredibly focused, innovative individual that is like smart, like light years smart.
He's one of those guys who doesn't like to talk about himself a lot, but who really feels like his actions show, how good a company he can run.
True to form, he declined to talk about himself for this program as well. Hastings was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1960 and grew up in the suburb of Belmont. Former Governor Gray Davis is a friend of Hastings.
He came from a middle-class background. His father was a lawyer, did not come from great wealth. Education is the reason he's successful.
Educational success included a bachelor's degree from Bowdoin College in Maine. He spent one summer in a training program for the U.S. Marines, but realized the military wasn't for him. Instead, he joined the Peace Corps, where he taught for 2 years, then hitchhiked across Africa with $10 in his pocket. Teaching was inspiring, as he told Charlie Rose in this 2005 conversation.
Well, I was a high school math teacher, originally out of college, in the Peace Corps in Swaziland. And I love teaching. I taught high school math, and it was just a fantastic experience.
Returning to the U.S., he got a master's in computer science at Stanford and landed a job at a technology company called Adaptive Corporation. Mark Box is a startup investor who was introduced to Hastings at the dawn of a new era in computer programming.
He said, up until this time, every program that's been created has been created in the head, essentially, of one person. But now we're kind of getting to the point where it takes 2, 3, 5, 10 guys to write a program. And so as that starts to happen, you have problems coordinating between the people, and that creates lots of errors.
Errors Hastings thought he could fix. He wrote a program and started a company with Mark Box called Pure Software. Like all perfectionists, Hastings wanted to hire the best and quietly did whatever it took to get them. Aki Fujimura was then an experienced software manager at Cadence Design Systems.
I didn't want to leave the company that I was with, but then he came over to my apartment with a 6-pack of beer, and we started talking, and that's his typical style.
Audrey McLean was one of Hastings' first investors and a board member.
Once we got going, there was no stopping it. The company doubled year over year for 4 years in a row. So it was an absolute rocket ship.
By 1995, Pure Software had reached the holy grail of 90s startups, going public. On opening day, the stock shot up 75%.
It was a very exciting IPO. In fact, we were the most successful IPO of the year in 1995 for 1 week. The following week, Netscape went public, and they eclipsed it.
The success landed Hastings on the front page of USA Today, in front of his flashy new Porsche Carrera, a photo he would come to regret. Cliff Edwards is a technology writer for Bloomberg Businessweek.
I think he felt like it sort of portrayed him as a sort of rich whiz kid living the dream, when in fact he really wanted to show that here's a company that he is nursing to health and is pouring his life into.
2 years later, he sold the company for $750 million and turned his talents in a very different direction. Michael Kirst is a professor emeritus of education at Stanford University.
I got a call from somebody I'd never heard of named Reed Hastings saying he wanted to come to Stanford and study state education policy and politics. And I wasn't quite sure why he was interested in this, because it didn't fit in with anything on his resume.
For Hastings, it was a new start. For 6 months, he studied hard, then went to the state capitol to advocate for a new kind of school in California.
And he was able to successfully create one of the first laws in charter schools in the country. So it allowed innovation and new operators to come in, and was really an entirely new concept for California.
There was a new concept for Hastings as well.